Welcome back to Tale 3 Cabins. Well, it's been 2 years since I stood on this deck. Actually, I think I was sitting and did the first episode of A Tale of 3 Cabins. In that time, I've done a lot of projects. A lot of things have changed from what I thought the channel was going to be. I'm hitting close to that 6,000 subscribers, which I might have hit by the time this video airs. And it's been a nice little ride so far, a nice little hobby. I appreciate everybody that's always subscribed to us and watches our channel. So 2 years, over 110 videos. I mentioned my very first one was on the deck of our Tennessee cabin, and that one has the least amount of views out of all the videos that I posted on YouTube so far. That was an introductory video on, what this channel was going to be about, and I thought I knew what it was going to be about, and it was just going to be highlighting the projects between the 3 cabins we have, and one of the purposes was to highlight the Tennessee cabin, and that way maybe we'd get more rentals out of it. And I was just looking at it from that point of view, that sure, we're going to do stuff at our home in northern Ohio with the log cabin, our place in southern Ohio with the little hunting shack down there, but I really thought it would help promote the rentals in Tennessee. Ironically enough, though, the second video I put out has the most videos ever viewed, and that was just a little whim. I went out, I was going to do a little project. I wanted to take a tree down that had died and was leaning against another tree. So I took my John Deere 1025R out, and I got it stuck in the mud, and I got it stuck good. And for some reason, when there's some sort of hardship in your video, plus a tractor, the views seem to go way up. So I got about 1,000 views on my first video. Again, that was in Tennessee. And then my second video, I have about 110,000 views already. So right away I realized that if I wanted to monetize this in the future or want to get my subscriptions up, it seemed like the more views were with the tractor type projects. And that kind of steered me in that direction from that point on. Even though I still go down to Tennessee, I think it's interesting for people to see what it's like if you have rental property, some of the issues you have to deal with, and the southern Ohio part. And I enjoy that southern Ohio part probably the most because I'm usually with some friends and we're hunting or just hanging around a campfire, and that's relaxing. From time to time I go off a little side avenue, and that might be like a how-to video, like how to put bolt-on hooks onto the loader on your tractor, or how to put LED lights, a nice light bar on your ROPS with using existing wiring and the switch is already built in for your lights on the tractor. So I've done a lot of little projects like that. I also done some product reviews. I've done the AgriFab leaf catcher for in the fall, sweeping up leaves. I've done a little one on my new lawnmower, the Zero Turn by John Deere. And I thought a fairly detailed one on the maintenance of your tractor, on how to change the oil, the air filters, everything you'd want to do for your 100 or whatever your 200-hour maintenance is. And I showed you a little trick on how to get to that hydraulic screen without taking the tire off and not doing anything major to have to get to that screen, clean it out, and put it back. Some larger purchases where I had reviews were I bought a new tiller, and then I had some problems with it. I returned it and got another new tiller, and that one is working pretty good. Bought a rake. That was used. I got it from my neighbor. Kind of gave you a little review on the rake. It's a little bit big for the 1025R, but it still has its practical uses around my place for now. I bought a snow plow, the AF10, that fits on the front of the Quick Connect loader for plowing snow. I kind of gave you my take on that. Probably one of my favorite videos when it comes to project purchases, though, is the one I did on the small things, and these are just purchases that are well under $100 that every tractor owner should have. Simple things like having chains, tow straps, various other items if you want to check that video out. I've done some pretty extensive videos on my brush crusher, and the brush crusher, for those that don't know, is basically a grapple equivalent that does not use a third function and just uses the existing curl function that you have with your loader. I've used it pretty extensively on my lot down in southern Ohio, and I've had good luck with it. I've always had some comments about people that were a little leery when I first got it about you're going to bend your loader arms, or it's not as good as a dedicated grapple would be. But for me, it wasn't all the expense that a grapple is. I didn't have to install the third function hydraulics. I use this thing quite a bit, and every time I use it I get a little bit better with it. It does have its limitations here and there, but for the most part, I can pretty much do anything that somebody with a grapple can do. I've created a lot of videos on that, from when I first bought it, put it together, to adding teeth to it, and just a lot of use in the last probably year and a half since I've had it. I did a couple makeover videos using the tractor. One was at my brother's house. He had just passed away, and it really needed to be cleaned up in the front yard, on the outside, and in the backyard. And we had some amazing results before and after. Another one was my daughter's house. They had just purchased it. It had a lot of overgrown shrubbery, and just needed a lot of little care on the outside. They had gone on vacation, and we went there with the tractor and kind of did some work while they were gone and changed the whole front end of their house, and I think they were pleased with that. Certainly the bulk of my videos are just projects, though projects around the house here, projects in southern Ohio, and every time we go to Tennessee, certainly we have projects we have to do because we're not there that often. I enjoy doing the projects with the tractor most of all. It seems like the people that watch also enjoy that the most, so that's most likely why I have mostly tractor videos on our channel. It's always fun to try to incorporate the tractor in the projects, and maybe I didn't even think about using a tractor at first, but somewhere at the point it comes in handy, whether I'm tearing out drywall in my bedroom, moving furniture, or even putting up Christmas lights. Trimming trees, moving large objects around the yard. If I had to pick three of my favorite projects in no particular order, one of them would be taking JD up on top of the Widowmaker in southern Ohio. Getting it up there was it was a nice little ride to get up there. I had to go through some back roads and then through my neighbor's property, a couple-mile drive to get back there. It was nice having it up there because it did a lot of legwork for us, helped clear out some trails. Kind of neat to have it up there because I had never had it up there before and never thought I'd really be able to get it up there, at least from accessing it from my property. So it was kind of neat to have it up there with a lot of friends, and we were all doing a lot of work, and a lot got accomplished. So it was just all in all a good day, good couple days actually. Another project was putting together a gun range for a friend of mine. He's got a long piece of property. We brought the tractor out there. We spent the evening using the backhoe, using the loader, and just using good old brute force and muscle to put this little shooting range in for him. It was comprised of digging a ditch, putting up some telephone poles, strapping those together, filling that up with dirt, and a nice dirt backstop. So a nice place for them to sight in their guns and have a little target area. And another video was probably one in my top three. Is very early on I did one called Stump, Grind, and Roll, and that's, I had a couple friends come over. I rented a stump grinder, and we had the tractor, and that was the first real time where I was able to start clearing the sides of my driveway out. For years before the tractor, my driveway was always overgrown. It would look like you were going into the bat cave when you're pulling in off the street. We were able to push a lot of trees back, grind up the stumps right away, and now it's a lot easier to maintain with the tractor and the brush hog. And that was really like the catalyst of what I could do with this tractor, at least what I was learning what I could do with it. Some other videos that are a little less popular but I think are interesting nonetheless are the origin stories. The origin story of the log home that we live in. I did 3 parts on the construction of it. The origin story of the southern Ohio cabin. And the origin story of the Tennessee cabin, which there's still a part 2 that's going to be coming out, and that's after we rebuilt it, after it burned down. Check out part 1 if you want to see what we did just before it burned down. Hopefully a part 2 will be coming out soon. This year I made a major adjustment with having an ATV. I got rid of my old ATVs. I sold them one by one, and then I went and got a side-by-side UTV, a Polaris Ranger. I did a couple videos on what I was going to replace my ATVs with. So was I going to get a Kawasaki Mule or a Polaris Ranger? Once I got the UTV side-by-side, did some modifications to it, documented some of that stuff. Gave it the test on the Widowmaker in southern Ohio. So did a little bit of series of videos on the UTV, or maybe it was just part of another video where the UTV's in there. But it's really been nice having that UTV this year. I still kind of miss the old one because it kind of is a little bit more sportier, makes you feel like you're on a motorcycle. Meandering through the woods a little bit easier. But this one is more of a workhorse. It's getting the job done for us, and it does make things a lot easier in the long run. There's some videos that I just completely don't understand when it comes to views. So I put one out called Between a Hard and a Harder Place, and that has over 100,000 views, and it really climbed within just a week or two. But I'll put other videos out, and one that I thought was very underrated was I was in Tennessee and we had like a landslide that we had to take care of. So it was a lot of bobcat work and some loader work, dump trucks and stone and dirt, and got maybe about 2,500 views. And to me, I thought that video was probably a little bit more interesting than the one that got 100,000 views. So I don't know if it's just the title, the little icon that you click on that attracts people, or if it's just the way the algorithms work with YouTube. So after 2 years, I've kind of changed the technology of how I'm doing these videos now. I've changed some of the cameras. When I first started, I was really just using my iPhone on a tripod or hanging it from a tree, or just setting it on the ground. I slowly moved to using a gimbal and attaching it to make the footage a little bit smoother and a little bit more cinematic. I incorporated the drone after a little while, and the drone helps me out because I could just kind of let it go, see if it'll follow me around from time to time, and I don't have to worry about a second person to shoot footage for me. It gives you a nice perspective from above. And then, like I said, I've changed to a DJI Pocket 2 camera, which I think has been working out really good. It's got a little wireless mic that it came with that's very helpful now, so if I want to chat more as I'm making the videos, I can do that. It was very hard to do that in the past. Sometimes I would carry a second microphone with me, and then I'd have to sync the two together, the audio and the video. It made it more time consuming and difficult to edit. Sometimes I would go out of sync. It would be hard to keep the audio and the video in sync. One problem with the drone is that it doesn't record audio, so a lot of times you're trying to sync that up too with the audio of your video. It's nice to have some multiple cameras now. This DJI Pocket 2 frees up my iPhone a little bit, so I could use that as a monitor, or I have to use it with the drone. Before, I couldn't do both. I couldn't shoot with the iPhone and the drone because I need the iPhone for the drone. So now I can kind of set the drone up in the air. I can do this DJI Pocket 2 camera, get that rolling, makes things look a little bit nicer. Still experimenting with it. I've made a little mount for my ROPS to put it up high. I've got a magnet that's got a little tripod mount on it, and that way I can adhere it to anything metal on the tractor, the backhoe, the bucket, the loader. So we give you some different perspectives in that manner. We're crossing our fingers, and hopefully this year with the pole barn coming up, the possibly of us tearing down the Southern Ohio cabin, there'll probably be a video maybe next week a little bit about that and what our plans are. So I have 6,000 subscribers, and I do get some money from YouTube. It's not a lot of money, and I kind of made a little deal with my wife. I said once I reach 10,000, and if I get to a certain mark where I'm monetized monthly, and it's pretty steady and regular without any huge fluctuations, that I'll probably purchase a second tractor. And that's where the 2038R comes in. If you remember, I've done a lot of hemming and hawing about either trading up or replacing the 1025R, but now I'm thinking maybe I could have both. Maybe I could take one down to Southern Ohio and then keep one up here, and I wouldn't have to trailer them back and forth, and continue to do projects with both of them, because there's a lot of projects up here in Northern Ohio I need to take care of, and there's a lot more that I would do in Southern Ohio if I had a tractor down there full time, especially if we're going to level that place like I mentioned earlier. So that's kind of a plan that could be way out in the future, or it could not happen at all. That's just the way it is. Maybe if you want to see it happen, you could subscribe to our channel if you haven't already and make it happen quicker. So that's just a little overview of the last 2 years and maybe what's going to happen in the future. Stick around, and so I'm looking forward to this coming year. Hopefully a lot of things are going to happen for us. As you know, I've been trying to get this pole barn worked on. February 16th is going to be my variance meeting, and hopefully once I get that variance I can start moving forward on a lot of things and get that pole barn up. Once we get the pole barn up, I can move some of my implements in there, get that squared away, and then we can start working on the Southern Ohio cabin and decide how we're going to demolish that, what we're going to save. Some of the things I'm going to salvage can go in that pole barn, but for now I just want to get the pole barn established, see where we're at, and then move forward from there. But in the meantime, I appreciate everybody watching. Hope you subscribe to these videos. Hope you enjoy these videos and like them, and keep an eye on us. Take care, everybody.